shoes wrapped up in the lap, baby, and moved Detroit.
Modify wherever we need to.
If it's bags and stuff, like that should be fine.
Yeah.
As long as it's kind of like face press. Cool, man.
Yeah. So you're gonna grab a spot for sure.
First class. Classes keep you accountable. So I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about in the video today, and the one thing I'm feeling compelled to share is this lesson I've been learning as far as like stewardship and perspective. My main vision, at least I feel like the main calling I have on my life in the mid to long term, is to build GLM into a brand that can really help and inspire people to go from like maybe knowing about God to really believing in God, but then to accelerate that shift from believing in God to actually building their lives around him. A lot of my focus on a day-to-day basis is building the brand and taking the right steps to get it to that point where it can be sustainable over the long term. Most of my workday is spent like working my job, but I wanted to share how my day job, the role I'm in right now, working at the firm I work at, I wanted to share how that actually helps me build GLM the right way, but also not only look at it as a way to fund GLM, but to look at it as something that God is calling me to do at this point in my life. The first thing I think that having a job does is it really helps me take my time and think through ideas. When I went from running my financial planning practice to going full-fledged into GLM, it was all I thought about. It was all I obsessed about. And because I was in survival mode at that point, becoming a complete solo entrepreneur, I mean, I was doing everything I possibly could to get sales. Discounting products like crazy, trying random ideas to go viral online. I mean, anything you can think of, I was trying. And what that did was it really had me in a like short-term hamster wheel of trying to make the brand work versus really building a strong foundation so that the brand could have longevity and really accomplish what God intends for it to accomplish. So the blessing of me being able to work my day job, I look at it as a role I'm actually stewarding versus simply a job. What that allows me to do is really take my time and think through ideas on how to make GLM a sustainable, profitable, successful brand over the long run. The other thing is it really helps me create product at a significantly higher level than before. So when I had first launched GLM, I was working with wholesale t-shirts, wholesale hoodies, right? Just blank hoodies I can screen print on. Then I found a supplier in China that could make a little bit better quality blank t-shirt I can print a graphic on. Now I'm at the point where the role I'm in has put me in a position where I can truly take my time and engineer an excellent product. Look at the fabric, look at the fit, look at the finish of the product, and really take my time to create things that people will see as an absolute like essential in their daily wardrobe when it comes to training or when it comes to just hanging out, street, doing whatever. So I'm no longer in this phase of, let me just print as many shirts as I can and try to get as many sales as I can. I can take my time and actually build a very high quality product. And that's really what I've been doing for the last year and a half. Trying to think about, what is my perspective in terms of what I think works really well, a little bit of like what I think everyone else would like, but mostly what do I feel convicted in? What kind of product do I want to create? And how can I execute it at the highest level possible? Highest quality fabrics, the best construction, and working with the best suppliers that can do that. And the last thing that I think my job has enabled me to do is feel as though I don't really need to rush. I don't need to set my own deadline. So when I look back at when I went full time in a GLM, I was looking at everybody. Anyone who came up with a brand who had an idea similar to mine, I looked at them as competition. And the one thing I had to realize is if God has a plan for me and he's given me a vision, there's no one that can stop that. Now, it took some time to realize that 2 years later, right? But I think being able to slow down, really think through and pray and just ask God for understanding, it's really helped me to no longer feel like I'm on my time. At this point in my life, the way I look at it is I'm on God's time. I'm not looking at things like, in 2 years, I got to be back full time into GLM. Yes, I am working crazy hours after work, crazy hours on the weekend, hours before work to build the brand because I'm doing it all alone myself. So I am grinding, hustling to build the brand, but that is a form of me being a good steward of what God has given me financially, what he's given me as far as the vision goes. It's not a function of the fact that I'm in this crazy rush to grow the brand as something crazy in the next 2 years and get really wealthy off of it. So until then, until I am back full time in the brand, my whole perspective right now is how can I just be as good of a steward as I possibly can be with what he's given me. My role in helping advisors grow and build their businesses and partnering with the awesome people at the firm and just impacting other people. I look at it and I always like to say, my perspective, my philosophy when it comes to life, everyone is looking for their purpose, right? I think we have two primary purposes. Our first purpose is to be in relationship with God, our creator. And our second purpose is to be in relationship and community with others. And when I think about that, I no longer box myself into, I want to be doing this job, or I want to only be building this kind of business. I don't label myself or identify myself as an entrepreneur or a certain title, or I don't identify by a certain philosophy I go by in life, or I don't identify as a certain philosophy I live by in life. The only thing I identify is a follower of Jesus Christ and a believer that Jesus Christ is my Lord and my Savior. And another thing I think about is I think about Joseph in the Bible. Joseph had the most unpredictable path to leading Egypt that anyone could have. God was blessing him with position after position, and then he ended up in prison. But you know what his mindset was in prison? God was helping him interpret dreams. Joseph didn't say, I'm so great, I'm so mighty, I'm a dream interpreter. Joseph said that I can only do this because God gives me the ability. And no matter what role he was in, he was present, he was available, and he was a good steward, and he always gave God the glory. While I initially thought when I went full time with GLM that was all I would ever be doing, the reason God had to have me slow down with the brand is because, he forced me to slow down is because I was making it my identity. I was making the brand my idol. I was carrying this entrepreneur hat around like it's this great thing, when at the end of the day, he's the one that supplies all of our needs. So I'm just at a point in my life right now where it's like I'm 100% operating on God's time. Whatever role he has me in, wherever he has me from a work standpoint, from a church standpoint, being a great husband, being a great brother, a great son, like that's what I'm here for, to be a really good steward, and everything else will fall in place from there. It just releases a lot of burden to think that way. Not thinking, I got to hurry up and get here or get there. Operate with urgency. I operate with urgency. I work extremely hard. I'm extremely intentional. But I do that with a mindset of it's in God's control. It's not in my control. I just have to be the vessel that he works through. So just wanted to share that with you guys. All right, so I'm not 100% sure on how I'm gonna put this, but I just got fired. And it's funny that I just got fired, because as you saw in the video, I was talking about how I managed my professional life while building GLM, while building the brand. And, I was talking about how I try to be as good of a steward as possible in everything that I do. And the reality is, it's completely in God's plan. It's okay, because I don't put my identity in jobs. I don't put my trust in myself, my ability to generate an income. I put my trust 100% in God being my provider. It's only right that it happens this way as I'm getting ready to relaunch GLM, because I was already starting to formulate my own plans on how GLM was going to go this year, next year, and the following year. And I was making up in my mind that, hey, I might stay in this role, in this job for the next 3 years before I really go full-time into GLM. I had the perfect plan. I promise you guys, I had the perfect plan. I told the plan to my wife. I told the plan to friends. It was going to work out so perfect. But when does that ever happen? When does things happen the exact way we think they're going to happen? It's never the case. They never happen that way. And the only way to be at peace when things like this happen is to have complete and utter trust in God's plan and in who God is. Jehovah Jireh, my provider. I'm not worried about anything, because God has taught me how to be a good steward, and he's taught me how to deploy money towards the things that he wants me to put them towards to achieve his ultimate purpose. So this is probably like 3 weeks later after me filming the previous part you just watched. Like, I was legit I'm gonna be at this firm for a while. I'm gonna be the best steward I can possibly be with working with the advisors I work with, and I'm just gonna show up every day. As hard as it was for me at times, because it wasn't in my natural gifts working in a company. Like, I've always worked for myself, so there was adjustments I had to make, and after understanding how life changes, I was willing to make those adjustments. But not everything goes the way you plan, and that's completely fine, because everything just needs to go according to God's plan. And my trust and my family's trust is completely in him, and I'm excited for what we're about to do, especially with the brand. It's time to rock and roll, baby. Let's go.